Hey everyone. Before we get to the episode, I'd like to remind everyone to live by the golden rule we were taught as children. Treat others as you would want them to treat you. We are in the middle of Pride Month in the United States, bringing awareness to LGBTQIA+ members of our community and their struggles for equality, such as the Stonewall riots. So it's disheartening that our president chooses this time, the anniversary of the Pulse nightclub shooting, to roll back U.S. citizens' rights by removing protections for transgender patients to fight against discrimination in healthcare. The week that the announcement went out, 2 black transgender women were murdered, out of at least 14 so far this year. Treat others as you would want them to treat you. At the same time, we are once again seeing the African American communities stand up and shout, "Black Lives Matter," after another murder at the hands of the police. This time, with more allies to their side. And all they're asking for is equality and accountability. And what do they get in return? Police tear-gassing peaceful protests, aiming rubber bullets at protesters' faces, shoving the elderly to the concrete, undue use of pepper spray, chasing people who are not protesting and beating them with batons, attacking reporters and camera operators, tasing young people inside their car after smashing open their windows, and then police union bosses demanding that their officers be treated with respect after those officers drove through crowds of protesters when there were perfectly viable options other than to do so. Treat others as you would want them to treat you. If you see something, say something. Being silent in the face of others' mistreatment is allowing that mistreatment to continue. You may not make a difference by yourself, but if we all do it, we can all change the world. Now back to what we normally do.
You can't keep adding more Highlanders.
Okay.
It's already done. You can't kill the Highlanders and have only one.
I disagree.
All right. Hey, I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dan.
We are the Rewinders podcast, rewinding and rebooting movies to see if they hold up. And this time, we got struck by lightning and got the quickening with Highlander.
I forgot to pay attention to whether or not this movie holds up.
Well, I mean, that's...
I forgot that's one of our main premises.
Later in the podcast, Ken.
You can figure it out as we go.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to start with the trailer, right?
Yeah.
No, we're actually we start with who had experience with this movie before coming into it.
Oh right, yes.
I watched the TV series, but that TV series is, in my opinion, far greater, a much better entertainment than this movie.
I'm in a weird spot. This was my first time watching the movie in full. I always thought the TV series looked stupid, and I always changed it when it was on, but I had friends who were rabid about it.
Ooh, so this is one that none of us have prior experience.
No, I had friends who were obsessed, but I never got around to watching it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Had a bunch of friends who really enjoyed it or enjoyed the Highlander series, but I have never myself seen this movie prior to yesterday afternoon.
I'm the same way. I had people who liked it. I knew of its existence, and I thought it was corny, so I never watched it.
Pretty much the same here, except I do listen to a few podcasts. One of them reviewed the Highlander 2, The Quickening, and that one I was able to see that for free on one of those services that I have.
No.
So it wasn't free, but
was it as bad?
It was available to watch.
Was it as bad as everyone says it was?
I enjoyed the few times that I watched that movie. I watched it more than once. It's not a good movie, if I remember right.
Even the director hates the movie.
But
the director hates the movie.
Enjoy that how corny it is.
Christopher Lambert hates the movie. I didn't realize how much of a backlash culture there was surrounding the second movie.
Yeah, it wasn't received too well by the podcast either, but it was still. I personally enjoyed my time with it, just with as corny and bad as it was.
I might check it out sometime.
I don't really remember much about it, though.
All I know is that everybody says it retconned the living shit out of the first movie to the point where everything that got set up in the first movie was completely destroyed by the second one.
Well, sure, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but I believe that he becomes immortal again because there are more. I don't know what they're called. He's the Highlander. They're the immortal people. But I think they just turn out calling them all Highlanders in the second movie, or maybe that was the podcast.
All right. Well, let's not get the cart before the horse. But I have so much to say.
So the trailer. Now we do the trailer, Ken.
Ah, yes, the trailer.
I liked the trailer.
I fucking love the trailer. I thought it was great.
The trailer made the movie look like a cohesive plot.
There was a cohesive plot. How dare you?
It doesn't make the movie look not cheesy. It makes it look cheesy, but entertaining cheesy. And I was like, okay, today's the day. I need to watch this.
I definitely enjoyed that the voice dub over, and the music in the trailer were much louder than any of the spoken lines. So you weren't actually I wasn't able to understand what the people were saying in the movie very well. Because if I turned up my speakers to hear them, then the voiceover guy would start blowing out my speakers.
I feel like it was pretty well balanced. I don't know.
Maybe it's just what I was watching it on.
Oh no, not the audio. The trailer itself. Sorry.
Oh sure, yeah.
I feel like the trailer itself was very well balanced. It was a pretty damn good trailer. Honestly, it didn't give too much away. It got you pumped up for everything in it.
I also enjoyed about the trailer in particular that it ended with Queen. Mm-hmm. And then said, hey, there's Queen in this movie. And I was like, that was actually when I was 100% on board for the movie. Was once I heard, I was like, did they really get Queen to do this?
I didn't watch the trailer before the movie, so I didn't know.
You monster.
I don't watch the trailers before the movie. I watch the trailer after the movie because of the trailer.
I wish I lived in that world. I should probably start to adjust to be that way as well.
I say, it also sells me to watch a movie because I know the level of camp there's going to be whenever I see the name canon attached to it.
Yes.
You have a point.
Yes. I always knew that Queen did the theme song, Princess of the Universe, but I had no idea that they did the entire soundtrack, so that was a massive pleasant surprise for me. I didn't know. So going into this, it was pretty awesome actually having Queen song after Queen song after Queen song.
Yes, it definitely kept the movie going quite well.
Yeah, my wife would pop in and be like, why would Queen do this?
Because they believed in something.
Because they didn't know better.
Was she watching the movie? Because I think if she watched the movie, she would know that it was just the oomph that this movie needed to put it into being a great movie.
Yeah. I can't imagine this movie without Queen. I mean, it's kind of synonymous with this.
It would be so dry.
Yeah, it really lends a hand to the movie.
I mean, yeah, if you went with an orchestral theme all the way through, it would just make the movie way too serious.
Oh, God, no. Let's not.
It would make it serious. It would just add to the confusion.
What about New Wave?
I mean, technically it belongs in this movie, but...
Wait, New Wave,
Yeah, just a bunch of synthesizers going...
Yeah, Terminator 1 soundtrack.
Hey, I like the Terminator 1 soundtrack.
Hey, I do too. I'm just saying that this fits this movie better. One thing that I have to call out that's always confused me about this movie, and I don't know why, but it drives me absolutely up the wall. Christopher Lambert in this movie and all the promotional materials and everything, I always thought this movie had Tom Jane. Because Tom Jane looks like dead ringer to young Christopher Lambert. So every time I saw anything or thought about Highlander, I was always like, oh man, I love Tom Jane. I can't wait to see him in Highlander. And then I go to watch the movie and it's like, this isn't Tom Jane. That guy looks like Tom Jane, but it's not Tom Jane.
Oh.
Yeah,
definitely looks like him.
Yeah.
If you're confused as to who Tom Jane is, he was the Punisher in the 2004 movie.
Yes.
And yeah, if you're not looking at them side by side, I could definitely see where that confusion would happen.
I thought he also gave off a Constantine vibe.
So now we're getting into what we like, apparently.
Yeah, so should we do the studio pitch on this?
Yes.
Unless we had anything else
studio
to say about the
pitch.
You
trailer.
gotta do the pitch.
Yeah.
I am just raring to go to talk about this actually talk about this movie.
Yeah, I am too.
And do you need me to send you a sequence of events how to do this podcast?
Actually, that would be super useful. I was sitting down yesterday to watch this movie. I was like, man, I should really write this shit down so I can take notes in the right area. This is what I want to talk about in this area. Here's what I don't like, instead of what I have, which is like 5 pages of amazing notes. Anyway.
So it sounds like you're probably not primed to do a studio pitch, Ken.
I mean, I don't have anything all up in my head, but
that makes me intrigued.
I could definitely figure something out.
I elect Ken to pitch this movie.
Yes, Ken.
I'm in. Okay. Fellas, I'm here
Yes.
to pitch you
Yes.
one of the best movies you're ever going to see.
Oh, yeah.
We have
It's a mighty tall order you got there, bud.
Pretty big statement, yeah.
we have immortal people across the globe who are just trying to survive long enough. I mean,
Wait. the globe's full of immortal people, and they're trying to survive. I'm already
okay,
confused.
there are a handful of immortals. They're trying to get to be the last immortal alive.
Oh.
And they will do so. Anyone who's left alive because they have to get their heads chopped off by another immortal person. Anyone who survives all that long will be in a massive battle royale at the end of the movie, and it will be great. And what we have is just people. We'll follow one guy. Let's say he's a Scottish fella who's been around. We follow his life. We see what kind of pain that these immortal people have to go through, that they love and then they lose and then they love again, and then somebody is gonna like do terrible things to the people they love because they're both immortal and they just want to hurt because they want to be the ones who's the last one standing. And but this one guy we really like. Actually, there's only going to be one guy that is a terrible person. But anyways, we got special effects. There's the quickening. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we can tie into this. And I think we should put it all in there.
Okay. Who you think?
This is kind of confusing.
Yeah,
to
it
me.
sounds kind of confusing, but
I'm
who
very
you think
lost right now.
cast-wise?
I mean, you said Scottish, right?
Cast-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, you're Scottish.
Get some cast
The movie's
ideas
called The
going.
Highlander.
Maybe
We need to have
we'll-
somebody
Scottish.
from the
I think we
Highlands,
need to
right?
get Sean Connery. He can be our lead character.
Lead?
Yeah.
What if we put him as like a mentor role,
Like Yoda from that Star
like a
Wars
Yoda,
film?
a fancy
okay.
Yoda?
What about like,
Ah.
but like a funny Yoda?
I thought Yoda was kind of
Yeah,
I don't know.
a funny fancy boy Yoda, but he's
I seem
very
to recall
capable.
Yoda bonking that R2 droid on the head with a cane. That was pretty funny. But yeah, I can see that.
We can have, we can have people bonking each other on the heads with canes, metal bars, whatever.
Okay.
I was thinking superstar Christopher Lambert.
Who?
Whoa.
Superstar Christopher Lambert
Who?
from
Who?
Greystroke the Legend
Who?
last year.
I don't watch
Of Tarzan?
movies.
Sorry, Greystroke the Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes.
I don't watch movies. I don't know who this is.
I mean, he's only done like a half dozen movies. He'll be cheap. That'll be fine.
Oh yeah. You guys are canon.
No, we'll just have
Yeah,
we'll have Connery do all the heavy lifting. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We can free up a budget for Connery.
I mean, he is just coming off of James Bond roles, right?
So this will be a welcome change for him. It'll be perfect.
He'll probably just be trying to change it up for himself. That's a good question. I didn't even look that up. Let's see. Good Lord. Yeah, just a few years earlier, he did Never Say Never Again.
Ah, yes.
And this will skyrocket him into super fame.
Yeah, he was in Time Bandits. I should have watched that when I had it.
Told you, Ken. Should have watched Time Bandits.
All right.
Anyway, there we go. That's a pitch.
That's a pitch, and the pitch comes off just like the movie does. Confusing as fuck. Totally disjointed. I love it.
They open a lot of ends and they try to tie them all up, but some of them they drop the ball on, maybe some very important ones, but all in all, I feel like it was a pretty well-jointed movie.
Katie and I watched this movie, like I said, last night.
Let's not go into the stuff we don't like yet, guys.
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard.
Let's go into the stuff we do like.
Well, we already said Queen.
yes.
And that's one of my
yeah,
likes.
bomb ass
Oh.
track by Queen. Let's just get that out of the way right away.
Yeah.
Check Queen. Now there's not much else left on my list.
Oh,
Let me tell you.
There's
Had they done
Brown.
Go for it.
Had they done the opening credits with the red text, just popping up red text of who's all in this stupid movie, it's not a stupid movie, and it would have been like some bagpipe, lofty bullshit over the top of it, it would have not set me up to enjoy this movie. Instead, they start with Queen.
So that's why you hate Braveheart.
I haven't seen Braveheart.
Oh, God.
I dislike Braveheart because I used to go to a church, and they like to play one of the Braveheart scenes over and over again for some reason because reasons. And
it was a sex scene, wasn't it?
Yes.
Just on loop during service.
Yeah, all right, this was during youth
Sounds
group,
like
if
it'd be
you
a good
will.
church to go to.
I was
Even better.
I was in a lot of church going young, and that really ruined a lot of things for me.
Well, that would have made church actually enjoyable. So I have to throw this out there. I can't believe the amount of people who confuse that movie with this movie. I don't understand it. So many people who I talk
confuse Braveheart.
Yes.
I don't understand why.
What?
Because
It's
the
the
two main
Claymores.
characters are Scottish. I have no idea. They confuse the two.
There is a gentleman that's in both of them.
Really?
Yeah, he is like the older gentleman in the historical section. He kind of has the blondish, strawberry blonde hair and beard. He's in both Braveheart and this.
Strawberry blonde.
I don't remember
beard.
his name. James something.
Vanderbeek?
No.
James Cosmo. James Cosmo.
Yep, James Cosmo. There we go. He's a burly guy.
James Cosmo plays Angus MacLeod. Are you thinking of Christopher Malcolm?
This is the wrong thing to get sidetracked on.
Nope. Christopher Malcolm plays the Marine.
Marine.
Yeah, the dude with the Uzi.
Marine biologist?
No.
Oh, the what
The
would be
dude
today's
again-
Mega, the Vietnam vet who tries to shoot the giant
that
guy.
Yeah,
That
he gets
guy.
his shit tossed by what's his name?
And somehow survives.
Speaking of shit, did anybody notice John Polito in this movie?
Nope. I don't know who that
I saw
is.
his name on the
That-
credits, but I couldn't pick him
That
out.
name and that face should sound and look very familiar. He was in a recent movie we just did a review on.
He was Detective Walker.
In this movie, yes.
Yes.
In The Crow, he was the shit on me
right.
shop owner.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you are correct.
Anyway, there's no good reason to confuse those two
No,
movies.
but so many people do for some reason. I don't understand it. I love Clancy Brown, and I'm so glad he's in this movie. Is it his best acting? No. But am I happy he was in it? Yes. Because he's Clancy Brown.
Who was Clancy Brown? Oh, he's the bad guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You might remember him from such films as Starship Troopers. And what? Really?
Starship
I haven't
Troopers.
seen it.
Shawshank Redemption. He's the asshole prison guard
Cop.
The one that
Okay.
the one that Dufresne helps him come up with a plan on how to wisely invest his money. So he brings him beers for his effort, everything. He's in a lot of
Oh,
stuff.
dude, he was in. I didn't know that he was in Ragnarok too.
Okay, fine. Yeah, he was in Ragnarok, but fine. Here's something you guys will know him in. He's fucking Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob.
Apparently,
He was also in The Mandalorian
that is a surprise.
and Flubber.
That was a boring
He was in
movie.
Flubber.
He was in the
Interesting.
Warcraft movie. He was in the Green Lantern movie.
He was also in the video game Detroit Become Human.
He was in Jackie Chan Adventures.
He was in a lot of things, and I very much enjoy him. So I was happy that he was in this.
So what I'm hearing here is this movie paved the way for a lot of people to be able to move on with their careers.
They earned a paycheck.
And it paved the way for Christopher Lambert to join 3 sequels.
Heck yeah. Man, was that Highlander 3 I watched?
I guess there's 4 of them. There's one, I think, called Endgame from 2000 or something like that. I was looking into this last night. But nobody really cares after the second one because the second one shit all over the franchise and uprighted everything and made everybody lose interest. So I don't know. Because I was looking into this to get this out of the way. I was looking into this for the reboot portion, and I had no freaking clue how bad it was. Because even the guy in charge of doing the reboot, which we'll get to later, mentioned that 2 really wrote them into a corner, and they're trying their hardest not to do that. So with the reboot, they're definitely trying to not fuck it up, is what his exact quote was.
Cool.
Because he wants it to be a good trilogy. Whereas back in the 80s, you have to think about it, they didn't have big franchises and trilogies per se in the 80s. It was kind of one-offs, one-shots. Yeah, there might be sequels to some movies, but nobody probably went into Highlander thinking, let's make this into a thing. They just made Highlander the movie. And it was great,
Right.
and everybody loved
When
it
you-
and wanted more.
When you go into the movie with the premise of everyone's immortal, all right, now at the end of the movie, everyone is dead or not immortal anymore. there's nowhere to go from there except for filling in all the in-between.
It's the exact same problem that one of my favorite Disney newer movies had, which was Tangled. I love Tangled, but there's nowhere for it to go, and they realized that when they sat down to make a sequel, well, she cut her hair. What can we really do? So they decided to scrap all plans of a sequel.
We'll just put them in the intro of a Frozen.
Yeah, and I guess they had like a spin-off at some point or something small, but yeah, there's not much you can do once you take the main core premise of your movie, add a nice little twisty cap at the end, tie it all off neatly. There's not much you can do to really bring it back.
This is true.
Without making it completely absurd, like Highlander 2, apparently.
It's going to be hard not to talk about a movie nobody's seen.
I know.
It's good. We don't have to worry about it then.
I don't know. You guys have more things to talk about that you like?
Sean Connery.
Likes. Sean Connery, yes. I felt like a massive tone shift in the movie when he arrived. It was so much fun. It was just like it was like Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. It was like Yoda training Luke. It was so much fun. He was condescending. He was making fun of McCloud. I loved it.
Yeah, I see Sean Connery as the like comedy relief sort of in this, which was weird because I mean, the one thing that just accentuates the comedy relief is the fact that a fish falls out of Connor's kilt. How did it stay up there for that period of time?
Oh, it's just
that fish must have been holding on to something.
Joe, just think of it as kind of a magic trick.
There's a lot of folds of fabrics down there. Gotta be fabric folds.
There are. That's how you get your kilt to stay up. I have a Scottish kilt. I fold it. I know how to do that. I don't have fish under it.
It's something new you can try, I guess.
I will not fault this movie for making me want to buy a utility kilt.
Yes, I want a kilt badly. It's kind of endearing to me. I feel sad for my wife, Nicole. She had no idea that people didn't wear undergarments under kilts. And I have no idea how anybody could get to this point and not realize that, but she had no idea. She was genuinely shocked that people don't wear things under kilts.
So she didn't see Braveheart where they showed off their penises and then slapped their ass cheeks.
Apparently not. But then again, she is one of those people in that group as well, though, too. Hey, do you want to watch Highlander with me? I think you might like it. Oh, is that the one with Mel Gibson? Never mind.
Is that the one where the lady travels back in time and falls in love?
She's obsessed with that show. So that adds that's kind of like the triangle corner of the three confusions. So you have Highlander, you have Outlander now, and then there's freaking Braveheart for some reason. So,
and if we want to triangulate off of that some more, when they go back in time the first time, it's 1536, and the MacLeod clan is going to war with the Frasers.
Oh no, Jamie's in there somewhere.
That
just made me a little sick.
Comes together.
That made me a little sick, Joe. Now there's legitimate reasoning behind this triangular effect between these three movies. Anyways, Joe, I thought you would have been like screaming with joy over the Uzi. The second he reached into his seat and grabbed a fucking Uzi and whipped out of his car.
I wrote it down.
He unloaded it too.
Yes.
I probably was a little distracted at that point in the movie. I don't remember what was exactly fully going on.
You just wanted to see Clancy Brown slice up some crap. I thoroughly enjoyed this one exchange in the movie. I had to rewind it because I was laughing. I loved it. I don't know what it was. I think it was just a delivery between the two. But when Sean Connery is teaching MacLeod and knocks him down, and Heather giggles and laughs, and just his sad face as she says Connor, and his sad face as he just like looks at her and says, Heather, please. That for me, I don't know what it was, but it was hysterical, and I had to keep going back to it. Just Heather, please. He just looks so beaten down and depressed. But it was funny. It was really funny.
I know I suck. Stop reminding and laughing at me.
Well, I mean, come on. Some fancy Egyptian man wanders into your house.
But he's Spanish.
Starts sword fighting with you and teaching you.
No, he's
He's Spanish. He's Egyptian with a Scottish accent. It doesn't make any sense.
Connor's a Scotsman with a French accent, so...
I love all of it. I love it so much.
If you were around and traveling around for that long in Japan for a bit and in Spain, he was obviously from Spain for a little bit because he was the Spaniard. He had a Spanish name. I mean, you too could have whatever the fuck you want for an accent.
Yes. Connery is essentially a walking melting pot, and that's okay.
The Egyptian part's still a little bit confusing because reasons, but... That's fine.
One other like I had in this is I have to say, out of all the movies, especially 80s movies involving strange, unexplainable murderings happening around town, this is the nicest police force I've ever seen put on film. The fact that McLeod assaults an officer in the precinct and then asks, am I under arrest? And they just let him walk out.
No, okay.
That's pretty cool. I mean, yes, the other cop got in his face and everything, it's instigated, but that's a pretty forgiving police force, and they're not, I don't know, it's not like they're looking for any reason under the sun, like the smallest itch to lock him away. It was interesting to see.
Okay, let's back this up a little bit, though. If we're going to go into this is actually one of the parts that it really confused and kind of bothered me about this movie. So, he kills the guy, hops in his car, drives out. The super efficient police are there. And this is a theme in the movie, that the police are always going to be there. They are super fucking efficient.
Yes.
It's the NYPD, the most efficient and on top of it police force in the nation, just represented on film. Look at that, solving all the crime.
They see a guy who's driving a little fast. Whether or not they know about the murder is up in the air. It seems like it's too soon for them to know about the murder because he's still leaving the parking ramp.
He could have been escaping from the parking ramp.
Maybe he was scared from what he saw. He was sweating profusely.
It very well could have been. He's still in the parking lot. This is within minutes of him of that fight going down. He leaves.
I get where you're going, Ken.
And the police are like, hey, why are you driving so fast? We're going to beat your ass and put you in this car because we want to ask you some questions. Okay. This is not the way it's supposed to be.
I get it. I get what you're saying, Ken. Like, he should have at least been a suspect.
He should have
at least been detained for questioning, but yes, it was just a, hey, what the hell's up with this, buddy? Get out of your car. Get in my car. We're going to go ask you some questions.
I mean, at least,
like, that's kind of
take
strange.
Down some information, be like, no, you can't leave until we have contact information from you because we're still going to be watching you. And there were...
And what did they get dispatched on? The fact that entire parking ramp exploded, or that someone magically found a beheaded man in the parking ramp amongst a bunch of exploded cars?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, this sounds like more of a job for the Ghostbusters. You have lightning and things exploding. You have a whole row of cars coming to life and spewing oil all over the ground.
Now, I will say, I don't know about the
This
80s,
sounds like a job meant for them.
But nowadays, if the fire suppression systems are compromised to make a beautiful fighting scene in a parking garage, the fire department at least would be informed that there is something going on in the parking ramp. That could actually be what made them show up to the fight, but the fight wasn't that long, which is wonderful. I actually really enjoyed that. Most of the fights in this movie were a reasonable length.
Yes, it wasn't crazy lengths of swords clinging around and things like that. Even the longest sword fights in this movie were pretty well tamed down, like you said.
The problem with that is
they were good, they were digestible.
The choreography for those fights were awful.
They were, but you also have to take into consideration who's doing the remake of it, and that gets me excited beyond belief. But we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, as I said, the sword fighting, which is actually in the second part, is, I mean, obviously, I've had problems with sword fighting in the past with movies, and this one takes no exception. The amount of times that they're just swinging at air and like, ooh, I'm going to block that. We're like, there's no reason to block that. You can just stab them when they go past you. Especially
when Clancy Brown's doing like his crazy over-the-head helicopter twirl.
Yeah, he's like swinging like 2 feet above Connor's head. You're like, why are you even bothering blocking that?
Yep. So I guess, is that it for everybody's good
I
comments?
I have one other good comment.
Okay.
In the precinct, in the scene that we were just previously talking about where where McLeod is just like, am I under arrest, and walks out, there's that little bit of a fight scene, and all of the hookers in the precinct are cheering for McLeod.
Yes, I got a giggle out of that.
That was great.
It
that was
made
so
me
good.
laugh, and I wish the movie would have kept up with outside of focus comedy like that, but they didn't, and that's it's disappointing.
They tried to. There's only so much.
I think I have a comment coming up.
I don't think they wanted to force the subject, but they did put a old couple down a back alley that normal people probably wouldn't be driving down.
I know when the crowd surfaces to watch Clancy tearing that marine a new one, and there's just a normal gawking crowd like you'd expect, but then the old people drive by, and the lady's got her mouth agape. That had me chuckle. It's like, are you serious? This is the most bizarre thing to see as part of this, but it made sense because they had to be there for Clancy to be able to tuna can the roof and jump in the car.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, you said you had some good things too.
Yeah. In that same scene, the former military guy, his shirt is freaking awesome.
Yes, I thought you would comment on that. Yes.
It's red square kind of buildings in sights, and there's a missile coming down, and it says, "Hey, Moscow, up yours."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on board for that
I want
shirt.
that shirt because it's so dumb.
It's so dumb. It fits in this time period and that character perfectly. Just have I mean, come on. His passenger seat was just a bag full of guns.
Yeah.
He's driving around the city in a car at night with just a pile of guns on his passenger seat. Like, I guess he's trying to be a vigilante and just drive around town and protect people, but what the hell?
He's trying to be the good guy with the gun.
I mean, I've seen people with concealed guns do the same thing in movies and stuff like that, but I've never seen in a movie, like, a guy who's delusional to think he's the good guy driving around town in, let's say, you know, a 70s sports car or muscle car with a passenger seat with a pile of semi-automatics. It's it's the funniest sight. I love that sight.
That is incredibly funny. I do enjoy that he also decided that the sword fight, he could stop and decide who was the one who deserved to be shot. I mean, obviously there's only one person left after one person loses their head, but who knows how that entire sword fight started. He doesn't. He just jumped in. He happens to shoot the proper person. However, he's kind of in there and just decides to shoot somebody. Is another thing that was a little bit confusing, but still, it fit the character because somebody with a gun just wants to shoot somebody and look like a good person. Like, yeah, they should cut somebody's head off. I'm a good person. Look at me. That was great. I really enjoyed opening scene after credits. We got the wrestlers coming out, and then they do that really cool shot.
That pan.
Where they go, the pan that's around the...
Yes, I was scratching my head with that, because, okay, so today's modern filmography, you understand that it's
going to be a drone.
Everybody knows it's a drone, or it's something along those lines, but I was actually sitting there watching that, thinking, how the hell did they pull that off back in the mid-80s?
Absolutely.
That looked so good.
It looked so good. It was so smooth.
It was a little too smooth, to be honest.
I found... I don't know if they had the old football... hookups at that point, but maybe this movie inspired it where they have like a
who knows. Yeah. But yeah, that's a great call out, because I was wondering that during the movie, but I didn't jot that down. That was truly surprising for me.
That was really cool. And then they zoom into Connor, who's at a wrestling match for some reason. I have no idea why, and he's surrounded by a bunch of older guys in suits cheering on and really getting into the wrestling.
And he's super broody.
That was quite funny.
Super broody.
Yes. He broods quite often in this film.
Yeah. It's been 300 years, guy. I also enjoyed the first person the first dead body going through the quickening. They included the electricity going around his head, which was removed from the body. Mm-hmm. That was a fun little thing I noticed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just in general, the scenery, especially during the training scenes, was just gorgeous.
It was. I really enjoyed the on-location shots. I thought the on-location shots were gorgeous. They were very well done. The settings, the scenery. I didn't see a single instance, and I don't know if you guys did, but I watched the Blu-ray and I didn't notice a single instance of a matte looking out of alignment, looking weird, not blending well. Like, everything just looked very well shot.
There was a couple of the storm scenes that were a little bit hokey, but man, altogether it was very well shot, and I can't say whether or not it was matte paintings or if it was just some weird special effects over the top of it. It looked great, especially for this time.
Yeah, definitely. And I do have a flip side of that when we get to the negative points, because there's only one thing that I didn't like filmed, but yes, I'll save that for the negatives.
Okay.
I also have a moment. So I think it's the first time that Kurgan fights with Connor in New York. The lady Brenda is there, and she gets in the way, and then the police helicopter shows up.
Super efficient.
Yeah.
Shines a light on them.
Yeah.
And then they run away, and the guy in the helicopter's like, "Hey, guys, no.
Hey, get back here."
Didn't you?
Where you going? It's the most apathetic helicopter that, like, They're like, oh no, they're running. I guess
I'm gonna
There's
have to
two of them. Which one do I follow?
That just adds more leverage to these are the nicest film cops I've ever seen in my life.
it's too dangerous for us to follow these people on foot with a helicopter.
Those two people went opposite direction.
Back.
Which one do they follow? They're trying to keep both of them in one
true.
spot so they can arrest both of them.
We'll never know who was in the right, so let's just give up.
Yep. Unlike that one guy, Moscow Mike.
Was it the guy swinging a pipe, or was it the guy with a giant broadsword?
Yeah.
Giant broadsword that comes in parts.
Hey, save it.
Yep. We're saving that one.
Yeah, I've got that one done too.
I like that there's always a convenient sword-sized metal pipe wherever he is. Whenever he loses a sword, which he loses a sword quite often.
I think that's twice in the movie where somebody throws him a pipe or a pipe gets knocked against a sword in some fashion.
There's a pipe. There's some
at least
kind
two
of
times.
iron.
Oh wait, was there a pipe
It
down
wasn't
in
a
the
pipe. It was like a big wrench.
a big wrench
the
down in
parking
the,
lot. Yep, in the
parking lot? Okay, so we had a wrench there, a pipe in that first fight scene with the helicopter, and then there was a pipe later on when she protects him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are they finding
Dude can
these massive pipes? And why are they not attached to
New
anything?
York. New York's full of pipe.
If I had to guess, they cut the first pipe out of the parking garage, out of the ceiling. The second one would be, I don't remember. The third one would be where she was tied to the scaffolding that all fell down. I'm guessing she picked up one of those bits. But dude could take a metal pipe to the head like no one's business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why are we even bothering with pipes? They don't do anything. I also really enjoy seeing old computers in movies.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Those old computers,
Especially doing things that they could never do.
Toshiba C4500, the one that we have in our staging room.
That one's
work.
actually
that one was black.
That one's in Outbreak.
And it's the one that we have is in Outbreak.
For sure in the movie Outbreak, like just straight up. It's for a very short scene right at the beginning of the movie, maybe 15 minutes in. I believe it would be Spacey typing on it.
Yep.
Anyway, I love seeing the old computers in movies and be like, oh, we've come so far.
Or have we? Or have we actually gone backwards, Ken? Because we can't go and suddenly have results to, the DNA formation of a sword.
That's fair.
Says you.
That is definitely fair. Can you tell how many times a sword is folded by having a small chunk?
Apparently by putting it into that computer, yes.
Okay. I need that computer then, I guess. I wonder if it'll run Minecraft.
It might not be able to.
Probably not.
I don't even know if it'd be able to run Doom.
Wait. I implied that a sword has DNA. Am I trying to say that the sword is alive?
That's on you.
It's mass.
In this movie, I'd almost argue. I'd almost argue that in this movie that the swords are alive and that they do have DNA.
That's the legendary sword Masmuni, or however you want to pronounce it. I always pronounce it Masmune. It's one of the 4 legendary swords in Final Fantasy Adventure. Not Adventure. It might be an adventure, but Final Fantasy Legends.
I don't believe so. It's
a bunch of
It might be a demon sword.
It's a sword from 600 BC, which we did not have katana making technology 600 BC.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. It's also in Final Fantasy VII.
Anyway.
All right, so it sounds like we're scraping the bottom of the peanut butter
we've gone straight through the bottom of the jar and we're hitting countertop now.
I mean,
okay, so now we find ourselves in the dirty, dank, musty garbage disposal.
So now I would like to preference that a lot of my dislikes are confusing and whatever, but I still love the fact that it exists. And it does
I need to say that as
heighten
well.
my enjoyment
actually
of the movie, just how ridiculous that it can go.
Yes, I fully stand by that. Completely agree. So some bad things. I feel like Dan's got
I got a
phone book
laundry
full.
list.
Dan always does.
I've only got a few. Ken, Joe, what do you guys got?
Okay. I want to start off with the scene that I would like to refer to as the stabby kissy scene. In which
yes,
in which he
yes
tries to convince her that he is immortal and does so by having her stab him in the stomach.
Oh, you're
and
talking
then
about
they
a
have
different
sex.
scene. I was thinking of the duel scene.
Oh yeah.
When you said stabby kissy scene, that's where I
great.
jumped to.
That is a great scene.
It's
so weird.
The
It's
awkward
great.
romance. The awkward romance of here maim me and then let's make out.
Yeah, not make out. Let's full board have sex.
Yeah.
They were naked.
They were naked.
He touched her butt.
And then typical high school move. after they have sex, he says, "I can't see you. I can't be with you."
I'm done with you. Please allow me to move on.
Yes, I can't possibly be with you. I apologize.
Oops.
My movie notes for that scene was Brenda is turned on by stabbing.
A knife fetish.
Got a stabbing fetish.
Well, yeah, she never got a chance to use that revolver in her apartment, so she's been dry. She's been waiting to pull off some violence.
Hey, you stab me, then I'll stab you.
Ooh.
Inappropriate.
So yeah, that's definitely an awkward one, to say the least.
But I still laughed.
Yeah, I laughed because it was absurd.
I forgot about the one thing. There's another thing I did like. I had started off by saying there's a lot of in the preview. I was saying something about set some things up, have it pay off later. How long did it take you guys to realize that Rachel was both his secretary and the girl that he saved in World War II?
Until the very end when he says it's kind of like a magic trick. Then I was like, oh my god.
Oh, I caught that right away. Like, when he asked her what her name was, and she said it was Rachel, and then he calls her out by that. I'm like, oh, that's the little girl that he saved from the Nazis.
Instead of thinking, oh, that, I thought, how many Rachels are in this movie? Anyway, I like that little reveal.
Yeah, it was good.
I didn't catch on until the same time which Andrew caught on.
It was pretty cool. One of my only gripes concerning that, because that is definitely a highlight for me, but on the flip side, I could put it into the bad category, is I wanted more of that. I get it. The movie is primarily taking place in modern, aka 1986. I love seeing him go through history like that.
You just like him watching Killing Nazis.
Yeah, it was such a brief little snippet of World War II and Nazis and him just plugging that Nazi guy in the barn, but it's just I wanted some more cool historical stuff like that. I get it, time constraints, budget, everything else, but that just it got me wanting more. It didn't fulfill my appetite. I feel like you'd have a better
time watching the movie.
It makes me sad.
Or not the movie, the TV series, because they do that
but
that back and forth quite a bit from what I remember.
I see. I have a problem, though. When I watch a movie, I get attached to the characters and the actors who play them. So then when I go to try to watch the series, it's not the same for me. Stargate.
Well, it's just because you're hung up on the weaker actor.
Kurt Russell is not the weaker actor.
In this situation. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
No! I refuse to believe.
At one point, I would like to see more of that back and forth. However, on another point, if they had more, they would just have to Wolverine it. And then I think it would kind of lose... Well, no, I actually really did enjoy that opening sequence for Wolverine. With
the TV series, sometimes it wasn't just like a brief time spent in the past. Like, there were full episodes where they didn't do anything in the future.
See, that'd be kind of cool. And maybe the movie did the right thing by just getting my appetite satiated enough to the point where I wanted more with that, because, I mean, if it's that big of a gripe for me to walk out of the movie wanting more of that specific section and scene in the movie, then yeah, cool.
Yeah.
They did their job, I guess.
I mean, it means they didn't overdo it, which is great. And also, I mean, they hit the high points for his history. When he finds out he's a Highlander, and also he's a really shitty fighter, and then waits a couple of years, falls in love again, and then enters Sean Connery, who says, hey,
waits a couple of years.
You're a shitty fighter. It was like 6 years.
Yeah. After his wife went crazy and joined in on the Bob rules. Like, instantly a switch got flipped. Burn him!
So did you guys notice when they're leaving town for that big battle that the cross on top of the church was on fire?
Yeah, what the hell? I was wondering about that. Like, is that some sort of tradition or something? I didn't look into it.
I have no clue, but I just sat there looking like...
I thought that was bizarre as hell. I mean, it's obviously something I don't know about, but for seeing that out of nowhere, it was confusing.
Like, they seem like they're religious. Like, they got a guy with the cross in front.
You guys focused on something totally different. I focused on the fact that that army was being led by like 5 to 8 geese.
Geese?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just looked it up, and yes, it is a cultural thing. In Scotland, the burning of a cross was a declaration of war.
Aha!
So people did, in fact, burn crosses before the KKK ruined it.
That is so cool. I don't know why it's a declaration of war,
I've
but
learned
cool.
something new. It's time to go home. Oh, wait.
Already there.
I'm already there.
You are home.
Shit.
And then on top of the geese leading the army, the geese then defect with Connor and live with him on his farm.
Damn straight, because the animals were smart and knew what was up.
Absolutely. Look at them.
Yeah, I'd like to think so, Ken. I'd like to think animals are smarter than humans when it comes to this.
Yeah, generally speaking, I'd agree with you.
This man did nothing wrong. Let's go spend our lives with him.
Those geese, they're speaking the truth.
He's speaking the truth.
So, on things we didn't like,
Yeah.
what was the quickening?
The quickening? The quick is when you cut too close to the blood, the vein in a dog's nail.
Correct.
And cause it to bleed
And then
out.
they bite you.
Yes.
And it's just what happens. In this situation, they kill another immortal person, chop their head off, because that's how you kill one of these fellas.
And then they have a super orgasm.
And then there's a light show
Super orgasm.
where they have a super orgasm. Yep. What's going on there?
It's never explained.
What is that?
I'm assuming, and this is just me. I'm assuming. I'm assuming this that when they behead somebody, I would assume that they take on their powers. I would assume that they take like for everybody that you hack the head off of, you basically, like in a video game style, you take on their experience or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's what's happening. So everybody who gets beheaded in the Highlander, they're just becoming that much stronger. So they're kind of almost essentially like leveling up as the person's dying.
And I would 100% agree with you. That's actually where my head was going with it too. However, they didn't seem to get any better as they were killing people. Maybe I need to watch the movie again. Maybe take some screenshots of the movie and be like, oh, look, he did bulk up after killing 2 Highlanders.
I guess it is an actual term, though. So in real life, in pregnancy terms, the quickening is the moment in pregnancy when a pregnant woman starts to feel or perceive fetal movements in the uterus. So it's essentially the same thing. Maybe they feel the power, or maybe they feel whatever's happening in their body after they behead their opponent.
The quickening also gives them the ability to supernaturally feel their environment.
Yes.
I was going to say, when Sean Connery first shows up, because Connor and his lady were having sex, so then Sean Connery was like, hey, oh, by the way, Connor's going through the quickening just randomly on a hillside. He didn't chop anyone's head off, but he's getting like hit by lightning and having sort of super orgasm.
This is
Joe,
true.
Can you imagine how much different that scene would have been had he gone in on his horse, stopped at their foot, they looked up in shock, and he just looks down at them without skipping a beat and says something along the lines of like, "Don't stop on my account."
Please,
that would have been great.
I did travel from down south not to see this.
Like he's the comedy injection that we all love and needed, and that would have just like set the stage. Like, yep, that's what he's here for.
To watch these two bone down.
Yes.
And then teach him how to sword fight too.
And why am I going to teach him how to sword fight?
So someday he can kill him?
So confused. It seemed like all of the Highlanders except for one got along together really well, and there didn't have to be only one. They just had to all team up on that one guy that they didn't like who was killing everybody, and then they could all live in peace. It seems like they wouldn't have to be lonely all throughout their lives because they all could hang out with each other and not have to worry about their friends dying.
I gotta say this, what a shitty prize. You take care. Okay, so you're immortal, right? You're immortal. You've been around for hundreds of years. You've seen so much shit. And this whole time, you're just basically baited to find everyone like you and kill them because you get this mystical prize at the end that you don't even know what the prize is. You just know there's a prize. And you're so excited that you turn a blind eye and start beheading all your friends. And your fucking prize is to become mortal.
Right?
And lose all of the powers that you had.
But you know everything.
Yeah, you don't lose what you... the only thing you lose is your immortality. But you can...
I know. So
you are
you eventually...
You are so one with the world that you can feel everything.
You spend 500 years...
There's aspects of this.
You spend 500 years becoming a callous murderer.
Yes.
And then you're supposed to be able to just turn that off?
Yeah, you're supposed to turn off.
And all of a sudden you have to eat and learn how to swim?
You have to worry when you go on vacation whether or not you're going to drown and die?
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. It's weird because the flip side is, yes, they're sad because they have to go through so many changes like a vampire. Like you can't fall in love because obviously your loved ones are going to die around you as you continue to progress through everyone's lives. But then after you suddenly become mortal, it's cool that he was able to find his love or his new love interest, I guess, towards the end of the movie. And now he's suddenly mortal, so now it all like clicks for him and he can actually have a fun, fond life with her. But at the same point, it feels like everything up to that point was just kind of pointless. Basically, all it did was just extend his life for hundreds of years for him to get to that point. But there's no other, like, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. It's interesting.
I gotta believe that immortality for them is not a curse. Because otherwise they wouldn't fight so hard when somebody comes to chop their head off.
And it doesn't make sense because why are they fighting so hard to die? Like, they are going out of their way to get as powerful as they can possibly be to defeat anything that stands in their way to die.
Exactly.
If they knew that they would die from killing the last of the immortals, would they continue going down this path, or would they just say, oh, fuck that, and move on?
And even so, I can look past this and still enjoy this movie.
Same here.
Because it's a ridiculous premise.
It is, and I love it. I love everything about it.
I disagree. I don't. Like, there are bits and pieces that I like of this movie, but this movie feels like, to me, it was filmed by a bunch of high schoolers who had an unlimited budget.
Oh, unlimited?
I don't know about an unlimited budget.
Well, okay, an unlimited high school budget.
I don't know.
Part of that is what I like about this movie. Like, halfway through the movie, it just kind of came to me. I'm like, this movie is... I'd put this in the category of this is a punk movie. It does what it wants. It doesn't care.
I could see that.
Tonal shifts. It just... I couldn't enjoy it.
They're going to try things that don't exactly make sense because they just want to try it.
And some of the best movies happen because of that, because there isn't so much studio oversight and things like that. They just try a bunch of crap on film and see what sticks. I definitely appreciate it for that.
If I had paid to see this, I would be upset.
But Sean Connery.
Yeah, Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
So...
Queen.
That movie cost $18 million. 18 million, was it? I just calculated for 18 million. In 1986.
That's mostly into Sean Connery's
or
pocket.
16 million. My apologies. 16 million. Which, adjusted for inflation, would be about 38 million. So,
wow.
That's still a pretty low-cost movie for these days. It's a lot of money. I'd be set if I had $38 million. But I don't know if I'd be able to make a movie on that. A good movie.
So along with what's bad or not great with this movie were some of the effects. And I'm not saying like the lightning or whatever. The lightning was what it was, and I liked it because they didn't try to do something other than what it was. What was interesting was sometimes a simple fade from one shot to another shot made the movie go from looking like a film to looking like it was on Super VHS to back to what it was looking like on film.
Yeah, at the very beginning, after Connor gets killed or stabbed.
Yeah, and then there's another time where it zooms out and then it's his eye and it comes out of his eye. It looks like it's from broadcast TV from the 80s for a bit and then it cuts back to film. That's bad, but I also put that in the category of punk filmmaking, saying we don't care, we want to do these things. If we're going to make a dip in how the grain and everything, the colors look, whatever, that's fine. We want to do this. And I think on that aspect is cool, but if you're not into that kind of stuff, it just looks bad.
Yeah, it was interesting. I definitely caught a bunch of that throughout the film.
I don't know if I caught any of that.
And a more simple thing that is not exactly great with this movie is Connor is a creepy dude in current day.
Yes, he is. Always brooding in his trench coat.
The way he talks to Brenda in this movie, for like 90% of the time, it's like, why is she not running away in total fear of this man?
Right? Especially the scene in her apartment. Just,
It's like, oh, this is how creepy people flirt. Aw.
Hey, you gotta remember, this is the same decade that brought us 4 teenage turtles trashing a woman's apartment and ogling her in various stages of undress and showering and things like that. And also a robot escaping from a top secret government facility, watching a woman bathe and wondering why she's pink. There's so many things like that in this decade.
Admiring her software.
Her software,
which doesn't make sense. It's hardware.
Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was 1990. Wrong decade. Still within 4 years.
Called out.
It was still within 4 years, so anything that came out in 90 or in 80 was further away than the Ninja Turtles. I'm just being pedantic.
I'm filled with sadness.
Okay, let's talk about it because I know we all have the same opinion. How the hell does a sword that comes in two pieces be as strong as that dude's sword?
The hilt is...
Yeah, 4.
I was perfectly fine.
A piece,
I was perfectly fine with the
piece,
sword.
And the blade itself is in two pieces.
Yes.
I was fine with everything up until the blade. When he opened that box, I was just like, oh, okay, this is cool. But then the second I saw the two halves of the blade, I'm like, oh, no, they can't possibly. And then when he clicks the blade together, it didn't even click. It just slid in. So just no. No.
I just imagine that sword flopping as he swings it because, it can never sit exactly right. It'll always be a little wonky. And it's going to go flying off at inopportune times. He's going to be like, oh, excuse me, I have to go put my sword back together.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dumb. But, whatever. He had to travel with a big broadsword, so I guess that's the way to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, I guess kudos to him. He found a way to make it work, whereas McLeod's also carrying a sword, but hiding it in various places to come back to retrieve later.
Which, by the way, that's exactly what a perp does. They return to the scene after the crime to observe their work.
And what the hell? Did he kick a can of spray paint on the ground or something? That's what it sounded like.
I must be very quiet. Come on!
I realize this is slightly past the talking point, but when you were talking about the budget, I don't know how true this is, but what I've been able to find... I can't believe if this is actually true, this is crazy. Supposedly Connery's budget for the movie was only $500,000.
What?
I know.
He was trying to get out of that James Bond rut.
Yeah, and I guess he wasn't really in it that much, but still, if that's true, that's pretty
$500,000 for like 20 minutes.
I think he got paid even less for Zardoz.
Which was also a get out of James Bond rut the first time. Zardoz.
Yeah. Because the only thing I can find is a quote, because people asked him what he thought of the movie, and he said to the director, it's nothing personal, it's just 500,000 euros or something like that. So that's the only thing I can find is him with that quote. So him saying, he doesn't really care either way, it's just about the money.
He did some weird stuff for very little money in his career.
Yeah. All right, so the sword is definitely not what we would envision, for sure. I had this sad feeling, and I was actually so this maybe should have been in the good portion of things we liked, but I don't know, it's like straddling 50-50. When we first are introduced to McLeod's apartment, initially I was like, that's a nice place, and then I got sad inside, and my internal voice said, yeah, they're gonna trash it later in a fight scene. And they never did!
Hey!
Nothing ever happened to his apartment. His apartment got to stay the way it was. It was not the scene or the setting of some crazy-ass fight scene later on, where there's the shit being broken and knocked over.
Yeah, it was,
I was happy with that.
It was left to Rachel. She got to have all that fun stuff. That's just all the junk of being around for years. He's got all these personal items. I thought that was kind of neat room that possibly could have been explored a little bit more, but they didn't. Whatever.
Yeah, and any other movie that would have had something like that would have had it have been like he comes back and like it's trashed, and then he knows, okay, this guy's after me or something along those lines. But the fact that they didn't, it's kind of nice. It wasn't trite like other movies have treated that topic. The one cinematography thing that I had written down was the running over people when Clancy Brown is playing chicken and then starts driving. That was just damn bad. It was the director saying, turn around when I flash this flashlight at you. He caught two people doing that, I'm assuming, and he's like, great, looks like you're being about to be run over. And that was bad. I hated that. I'm sorry. That's the one thing that I called out that I couldn't stand.
I did like the character being like, oh no, and covering his eyes and not putting his hands on the wheels
being
and being
aware
like,
of the
whatever.
fact that he is immortal, and he's got a mortal in his passenger seat.
Yes. I laughed at Clancy's gestures during that. That was pretty funny.
Although Brenda's screaming was not a fun part of that scene.
Grating.
That was
Okay.
like, okay, we get it. This keeps going on and on and on.
It's like...
The fainting
it
could have
been
happened
condensed,
sooner.
but yes, like maybe the first time they're about to hit a car. I don't know. That really segues into the major thing that I know we talked about briefly, but the only other thing I got on my list, and definitely segue into this, is comedy. There's so many moments in this movie where I can't tell if they're trying to intersplice comedy with what's going on, or if they're trying to interject a little bit of humor there, a little humor here, but some of it works, some of it doesn't. Again, this is kind of like a smattering of things that do work and don't work on film, but I don't know, the comedy's kind of all over the place.
The entire movie's all over the place, really.
That, yeah, but the comedy, I laughed at the fish, I laughed at him knocking him off the boat, I laughed at all that kind of stuff, but then there's other pieces where it's like the end scene where she puts the pipe up to Clancy Brown's sword, and you get that shot of Connor turn around really quick saying, "Thanks, what took you so long," or something like that, but the way he delivered it was so awkward. Like, I don't know, there's comedy sprinkled into this movie, and it either falls flat, or it just makes you chuckle. And I don't know if I would have rather that been more comedy or been less comedy. I honestly don't know how I feel towards it.
It's like it didn't know if it wanted to be like an adventure comedy or a darker pseudo-historical adventure.
I think it really wanted to toe that line just because you don't want to be bringing your audience down a lot, so you interject some comedy in there and really make it a little bit more lighthearted just to keep everybody on board, because it's supposed to be a blockbuster adventure story, not...
But it wasn't a blockbuster adventure story. It released with a rating of R. Like that...
Canon style.
And it was 2 hours long. Shave a half hour off this thing.
We're going to cut a half hour off this thing, and they got all the history in there. And
They could have trimmed maybe 20 minutes off of this.
They might have been able to get rid of the whole arch line with the black fella. Get rid of it.
Well, he didn't last but 2 scenes.
Yeah, but the 2 scenes were
shows
all...
up, gives a little booze. Next scene, he dies.
Yeah, that was like 15 minutes, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, I apologize. I did forget to say something I liked about the movie. How about that music video style shot of when Clancy Brown's character bursts through the door to chase after Rachel through her apartment? That was cool. That was really cool. But that's all I have left to add to that side.
Yeah. One of the things that started pulling me out of the movie, there's a character, Garfield. He's a police officer, so he's kind of tertiary, but he's in with the chief of police, whoever is the investigator, whoever. He's always kind of tagging along with him. And that guy says a lot of homophobic things, and there's no point to it other than, hey, this guy's, you shouldn't like him.
Yeah.
So he ends up having at least 3 homophobic slurs in the movie.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that already. Like when he was insinuating that he was down there to get a blowjob in the parking lot.
There was no point. There's no follow-up. There's nothing that makes that continuous story or pull story out of the situation.
Blatant
it's just
stupidity.
It's stupid.
It is.
It really
and then
is.
there's 2 blatant racist comments in the movie too. One about joking about a Vietnamese person eating someone else's dog.
Yeah, I heard that.
And it's like, again, why are these even there? They don't have a point. They're not creating a universe. They're not creating a world that's more thorough. They're just making people look like asses. And there's ways that we can make people look like asses without having to perpetuate stereotypes and say just asinine shit about generalities of public.
Yeah, but the job was to make you want to punch him, and I guess it succeeded.
Yeah, but
you don't have to go to those extremes. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Was it really necessary? Probably not. They could have easily moved that scene where Christopher Lambert walks out without him, without any of that stuff going on. It did make him look like a giant asshole, though.
It just, to me, it didn't have a point. And when it doesn't have a point, why are you doing it?
Agreed.
I think that this might be one of those comedy things lost to time where back in the 80s it was a little bit more okay to make those kind of jokes. Hopefully it just shows that we've come a further way
Well, yeah, it really brings it back to our conversation about Short Circuit with Joe's comments that if you took the lines from Ben in that movie and gave them to any other character, would they still be funny? It raises questions. It really does.
Yeah.
But anyway.
We haven't touched on how poor the sword fight choreography is, because it's
I thought
awful.
we did.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's pretty damn bad, yeah. It's levels of, I don't know, would you guys say Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original Star Wars bad?
No.
Let's just smack these together.
That was, oh God, that was just awful. But at least these ones, they actually look like they were trying to
they were swinging at each other.
They just were trying to cause injury to the air.
They were trying to hurt each other's swords, not each other.
Right.
Yes, that is the best description right there, Dan. They were only trying to hurt each other's swords.
That comes from the 5 years I did theater in high school, and we did a whole bunch of sword like stage fighting stuff. And if you want a good sword fight to come across as a sword fight, you have to make it look like you're going to kill your opponent, and that's really hard.
Yeah, otherwise there's no stakes.
You're not on stage. You're not trying to hurt your co-actors. It's difficult.
No, but you got to make it look like you are.
Yeah.
Acting.
Otherwise, it's just nice. Look at how nice sword play they're doing. It's so nice.
Do you hear all the rhythmic clinks?
And the sparks.
Oh, yeah, the sparks.
On the flip side of the fence, though, it does sound like a lot of people thoroughly enjoyed the sword fighting action in the TV series.
Yes.
Because it was choreographed by a gentleman by the name of Adrian Paul, who's a swashbuckling actor. Oh. And he was brought on for it, so yeah.
All right. Hold up, everybody. I just saw one line in my notes that brings me back to my favorite part of this movie, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it up in the good portion.
Electric demons at the end?
The 1700s duel that he had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was the scene that I got confused with the stabby kissy scene.
The stabby kissy scene. This is the other stabby kissy scene, which was funny and weird fun.
When Connor had that duel with the fop.
He goes to the park, talks to the black guy. Black guy says, "Oh, it'd be like that. We don't want." Or he says, "When's the last time we got drunk?" And then did the flashback to he's standing in the field. He's drunk. He can't stand up. He's got a duel, and the guy keeps stabbing him in the chest and stomach area over and over again. He falls over and he gets back up.
Yes.
And every time he stabs the guy, the person who takes the sword tries to give him a kiss or whatever.
Yep. Okay, I got it now. Yeah, and then eventually brings over the two
pistols.
Pistols, yeah.
Ends up shooting the guy for some reason. I don't know why he ended up shooting.
He was mad and he wanted to take his frustration about not being able to kill Christopher Lambert out on someone else.
You would think he'd continue. I guess it'd be futile. Especially since guns don't work on Highlanders. That's the best part. Not Highlanders. Immortals.
Not even Uzis. Which begs the question, if a Highlander was traveling in a vehicle and leaning their head out of a car window or something like that, and caught it on a fence or something or a tree branch in modern times, and beheaded.
Sure.
Would that still work in the same way?
The Highlander's then dead. The point of that is they're not the Highlander, the Immortals.
So easy to call them all Highlanders.
Because there's only one Highlander.
So the magic is in the neck.
The magic is somehow tied to the connection between the brain and the rest of the body.
Because we noticed that the throat doesn't seem to matter, considering, Clancy's throat is bobby pin.
So are these guys zombies?
They don't seem to want to eat each other. Well, they do eat each other, I guess, by killing each other.
They absorb their essence and all that fun stuff.
Maybe they're more like vampires.
Yeah, it feels more like vampires.
Yeah, they're probably... this is making a joke.
Less sparkly.
Well, we seriously corrected your joke, Ken.
Son of a...
Science backs up vampires more than zombies in this situation.
We reviewed your joke, found the pieces we didn't like, and interjected what we would prefer.
We interjected your joke with facts. It really ruins a good joke. Or a bad joke.
Yeah, it does. So, yeah, more bad things. I don't know. I don't like his sword. I think his sword looks dumb.
You mean the katana from 600
BC? The katana looks cool. His sword looks dumb. The one with
nameplate.
Yeah.
The stupid
it's just a big broad
McLeod
sword.
Nameplates soldered on. I don't know. It looked dumb.
Well, let's talk about this potential reboot.
There's a lot that the reboot has to work with.
Yes, because it is a super interesting concept, but it's like the guy in charge of helming the reboot said. They wrote themselves into a corner with Highlander 2, and they're desperately trying not to pull that off, because they don't want to fuck it up. So there is a ton of juicy material to work with. It's just not being stupid with it. So you guys know who's poised to helm this, right?
No.
The director of all 3 John Wick films. Oh. He is in charge of Highlander. So he is very excited. The studio's very excited. Everybody's very excited. He just doesn't want to trash the legacy of it like 2 did. And I say that because, massive spoilers, but for those of you who have not seen 2, including myself, apparently all the good shit that this movie set up, when it came time to do 2, which they hadn't planned on doing, they retconned the crap out of the first movie. They explained that all Highlanders are actually aliens.
Wait, what?
I shit you not. I shit you not. Get on board, because this is going to be a crazy ride. They talk about this planet, and I forget the name, but they talk about this planet basically saying that they came from this planet. Sean Connery, I shit you not, resurrects himself in Highlander 2.
I thought I remembered him being
Planet's name is Zeist.
Thank you. And the funny thing with that is, after the movie was received so poorly and after everybody on board denounced and hated the movie, future copies of the movie essentially turned into a director's cut where all mentions of that planet are scrubbed, and they just refer to everything as a long time ago instead of the planet.
I think I watched the director's cut. That makes sense.
So yeah, because the only way to watch that old version is apparently VHS. They never made it past that. So this is like Star Wars original trilogy cut to the extreme. You have to go hunting for this version if you want to see it.
Wow.
So yeah, they didn't know what to do. They wanted Sean Connery back, so they just had him resurrect himself, because why not? Which, again, makes the whole premise completely moot if he can just resurrect himself all willy-nilly. And then on top of that, having all of the Highlanders be immortals because they're aliens? What the actual hell? That completely cheapens the entire training sequence montage from the first movie of everything Connery comes to explain to him about himself. Everything he explains about the quickening, the powers, and everything like that all gets shoved out the window because, oh no, dude, you're just an alien.
And also, it doesn't make sense. Like,
no!
You're going to take...
It doesn't!
Just because they're aliens doesn't mean that they're immortals. Like...
But they have midichlorians.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
So yeah, they're... He's very much trying to avoid the pitfall that happened with that, because, I mean, you know it's bad when the director himself doesn't like the movie, Christopher Lambert doesn't like the movie, everybody else. So that's also another part of this, is Highlander 1, yeah, it was brief, but it had all that interesting connectivity between timelines like we were talking about, so you had it taking place in, quote, modern times, 80s. You had the old-ass 1700s and everything else going on. You had World War II, you had all that mixed and spliced together and weaved together. But the Highlander 2, I think, takes place in like 20-something, so like 2020 or 2040. And obviously Christopher Lambert's older and not immortal, so it's him trying to basically become immortal again because more immortals have surfaced or something along those lines. So it's that whole thing. It's, how do we make another Tangled movie? Well, we can't because she cut her hair. She's no longer Rapunzel, as Rapunzel was the whole premise of this movie. Hey, how do we make another Highlander movie because all the mortals are dead? I don't know. More show up.
Oh, that's why they have to be aliens, because then they can just land. And all of a sudden,
yeah, I guess.
there.
I feel like if they do it,
so there's a whole proximity thing.
Do anything with the reboot, they need to just scrub everything.
Also, you'll be happy to know that in Highlander 2, The Quickening, our good friend Michael Ironside is in it.
I saw that, and that made me very sad because I love Michael Ironside.
I know you do. Ooh, that was $34 million.
I saw that it also did very poorly. Like, it was made for X amount and lost a crap ton at the theaters.
I mean, both movies were box office failures. $16 million to make the first one, made $12 million. Oof. And then Highlander 2 cost $34 million and only made $15.6 million.
Oh, that's bad.
Yep. Oh, God. That was the major premise of 2. Here we go. All right, my final bit of this. Highlander 2, it takes place in the future. Well, what would have been the future, right? So, oh God. Okay, so the timelines, trying to talk about this is so insane. Okay, so in 2024, that's one timeline. There's also 1994, 1999, a couple other things, right? So the movie takes place with them discovering that the ozone layer is fading.
Okay, that was a thing.
So
back then.
There's this company that makes a giant shield to go over the planet.
All right.
to block the sun.
Yes.
And that's what protects everybody from going extinct.
Yes.
So you have this dystopian future Highlander where it's bleak, it's depressing, it's bad. And then you have it turn even more cliche by having the company that runs the Shield technically be evil because they're controlling people's lives. Because they're the ones who control the Shield over the planet.
Yeah.
And then you put aliens in the mix, you shoehorn aliens in, and everything goes
The thing is
down.
that company's bleeding the people dry, all their money and making them live like shit because it's dystopian. It has to be that way.
Yeah.
And then the thing is that at this point, the Shield isn't even necessary.
Yes, that's what I was just reading. So in 1999, Connor McLeod is the supervisor of the team that makes the damn Shield.
Yeah.
So then later on in 2024, when he's old and frail, basically scientists discover that the ozone layer has in fact restored itself naturally, which the Shield isn't needed anymore, but the company that took over after the Shield was initially created they're aware of that, but they don't care, and they keep the Shield in place because they want to be able to control people.
Yeah, they use the evil media to make people think that the ozone hole has gotten worse or something like that.
Oh...
Yeah.
This is contender for me without even seeing the film, physically seeing the film. This is a contender just reading the synopsis for one of the worst damn movies I've ever heard about.
It is fun. It's remembering what the after watching the Highlander and remembering what this movie is, it almost feels like completely different movies.
For sure. And here's actually another piece under the production section for Highlander 2. This completely turns another one of you guys' negative comments towards the first movie on its head. You guys said the sword fights weren't realistic enough or well choreographed in the first movie. Lambert and Ironside both suffered injuries during the filming. And according to this newspaper, St. Petersburg Times, Lambert chopped off of one of Ironside's teeth, or chipped one of Ironside's teeth during a fight scene, and then during another fight scene, Ironside inadvertently chopped off part of Lambert's finger during a sword fight.
Were they using real swords?
They were wielding a 22-pound broadsword, which made it so that the precision thrusts and parries were impossible, according to Michael Ironside.
So they weren't using a stage broad?
They were using a 22-pound stage broad.
It's not a stage.
Reasons.
It's not a stage prop if it can actually pierce somebody without it being sharp.
Right? It just lops a dude's finger off. Like, what the hell?
That's so bizarre. I love it.
And I think what makes me even more sad than Michael Ironside's name being attached to this is John C. McGinley. I love John C. McGinley. Damn, I just felt waves of sadness seeing his name in the listing.
Oh, Dr. Cox from Scrubs.
Dr. Cox. One
of the Bobs in Office Space.
One of the Bobs, yep. Anyways, long-ass side tangent. The sequel, just holy crap. Holy crap. So yeah, all of what I just said, all of that is what he's trying to avoid having happen with his reboot.
I don't care whether or not we actually make it our next movie. I'm going to watch Highlander 2 again soon.
I'm intrigued now by all this alien finger chopping shenanigans.
You'll be hard pressed to find the Alien edition, but just watch it knowing that in the back of your head.
Gotcha.
Every time they mention something about olden times or long ago, it's them talking about aliens. Oh, it's just so messed up. It is so messed up.
So, does the original Highlander movie hold up?
There's so many good things with this movie.
I'm going to say yes, and I will actually go back and watch it, because I liked it. I liked it a lot. There's things I didn't like, obviously. We all have our own takeaways, gripes with this movie, but overall, I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I probably will go back and watch it. If it were made today, I would say that would be definitely towing some weird lines, but I think if they were making it today, they would definitely do a better job with the way they treat people. And also just like when movies take the bad guy and just have him stick out his tongue, and that's how you know he's a bad guy. Like, wag his tongue at everybody. It's like, it's just disgusting and annoying. It's not, you're annoying, not evil.
And in a church.
It was really dumb. And then he licks the priest's hand.
In a church.
I did think the church scene was funny. I thought that was actually particularly funny, how he just comes in. It's just like this audible, like, air. Everybody wants to get the hell away from this guy. But then, yeah, it just devolves into him licking the priest's hand and grunting. And
I mean, he's disgusting, and at that point, he's not necessarily evil. He's just gross.
Yeah, and then he just randomly shaves his hair.
Yeah, that's his disguise. Can't tell who he is if he shaved his head.
Yeah,
it wasn't really that big of a difference. I actually thought it was kind of funny that he did that. Anyway, the graphics would need to be updated. The crazy demons at the end were weird.
I loved that part.
I liked it too. It reminded me of like a Don Bluth animation. I was so happy.
It looked like a Don Bluth animation. Definitely did not fit in this movie. I thought it was really cool looking, but I felt like I was in a different movie for a little bit.
Agreed. I agree. That whole animated, whenever another immortal died, like there wasn't that kind of special effect.
But that was the last one.
That's what they were working for. That was the special. I will say that all the different immortals dying had different levels of cars exploding. First guy died, an entire car park exploded. The black guy died. The car didn't even get touched. There's just a little bit of wind.
Yeah. I forgot to mention this, but did anybody else find it weird that the parking structure was completely full, like legitimately not a spot free, and then within 24 hours the entire thing is vacant?
All those cars were there for the wrestling show.
Yeah, but still, like all the cars that came to life and crept forward, spewing oil and exploding all around them.
It was spot clean, wasn't it?
Yeah, the parking structure was completely barren within 24 hours. Even being a police crime scene, it's just nothing was there. Completely open and completely fresh and clean.
That's a little bit bizarre.
I don't know. If I had one takeaway from this movie that makes me want to go back and watch it again, one thing I was happy was ever put on film. It's watching an entire row of cars hopping and lurching and spewing oil. Headlights shattered. I don't know what it is about it. I love that scene.
Or a nice lob of a katana can cut somebody's head off and then go 2 inches into concrete, and somehow that concrete metal can find its way into the person's neck. Turns out it's not concrete metal, it's sword metal.
Yeah, the sword's blade is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Dan, I feel like you've been pretty quiet on your whether or not this holds up.
I've already said how much I don't like this movie. There's nothing. This movie has broken me. I am just.
You're a shell of a man.
I was not enjoying the movie. I was not taking notes on things that I liked about the movie. Like I was just watching it to get it over with, so I had talking points to have with you guys today. I will never go back and watch this movie, and if I do anything with the Highlander, I will go and find the TV series and enjoy the TV series like I did when I was little.
So it doesn't hold up for you?
No, not at all.
Aww.
For me, I think it would hold up if it's being classified closer to like a midnight movie where you talk over it, you enjoy it for the silly parts, you somehow throw spoons or bread at certain points. I think that it's more prone to something like that than watching it seriously.
I would not put this in the same vein as Rocky Horror. Absolutely not. Oh, no way.
Yes,
no.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you said that, Joe. I thought that like the fan base could be like that. Like, oh, there's going to be a viewing of Highlander tonight. Everybody come down to the theater.
That's an affront to...
Well, Dan, they're both labeled as cult films on Wikipedia. They're basically the same.
Cult film being loved versus...
The Room has midnight showings.
Cult film being loved versus cult film being hated.
Anyway, so that was us just being aliens all along with the Highlander. Rewound and rebooted.
I wish I never would have brought it up.
If you could comment, subscribe, that helps our YouTube algorithm. If you could share this episode with others, friends, enemies, loved ones, you know the drill, who also like movies from the 80s, it could help us do better with that algorithm. So come back again next time for us to rewind and reboot again!
There can only be one, and it wasn't this movie.
Maybe it's Highlander 2.
Oh...